It's less than 2 years now until the next general election, and the countdown has begun, or well, it began 3 months ago, but the countdown has really started now as to the beginning of the election. And because it's a fixed term parliament, and unless an extremely unlikely event that 2/3 of parliament votes and no confidence in the government, which I think is very unlikely, that the next election will be in May 2015, which is the first time, I think the first time ever in British history that we've known exactly when the next election is going to be. And so rather than being prepared for an election roughly 4 or 5 years after the last election, now we know it's going to be in 5 years' time, which I think is one of the reasons that people haven't really made out very much of why particularly the opposition, the Labour Party, has not laid out a proper plan at the moment of exactly what it will do when it does get into government. My current predictions for roughly amount of seats: the Conservatives are very unlikely to win any more seats than they currently have, particularly when they have two real rivals for the same kind of voters that they normally get at. So on the right they have UK Independence Party, and then on the sort of centre, but now the centre-right really, the Liberal Democrats they're not really a centre-left party anymore. They're really a centrist to centre-right party. Well, they're unlikely to take any more voters than they did at the last election because their support is getting smaller. I think it's really the Conservatives can't win any more seats, but they can try and hold on to as many as possible, and I think more than anything it depends on the individual MP. I think in some seats, particularly Jacob Rees-Mogg, who was quite a right-wing Conservative in a relatively marginal seat, I think he's almost certainly going to lose his seat. Other interesting seats to watch out for would be, of course, the parties that are rivaling to be the third or fourth largest party in the next general election. For example, if you wanted to see what the Respect Party is doing, then you've just got to look at George Galloway, and if he holds on to his seat, then that would be a great achievement for the Respect Party and a bit more of an embarrassment for the Labour Party if they can't take back Bradford in 2015, which I don't think they are at the rate they're going at the moment. Brighton Pavilion, which I think the Greens will probably take again. I think that they're starting to get a little bit more entrenched there at the moment, and they're gradually building up support. So I think the Greens are certainly going to take a lot more votes at the next election. I think between upwards of 5% of the votes they could get at the next election from largely disaffected Liberal Democrats. And if you're the UKIP, I think Boston and Skegness is the only seat that they could take, and I don't think they quite got the support to take the seat, but I think they might come second there, between upwards of 20% of the vote there, but across the country it won't be quite as strong as that. They're unlikely to take any more seats. I think they're unlikely to take any seats at all unless they have a defection before the next general election, and by that I primarily mean Nadine Dorries, but that time has now really passed now that she has rejoined the Conservative Party a lot more. Another interesting thing to watch out for will be Nick Clegg's own seat in Sheffield. Sheffield's got a university in it. There's a university in his constituency, and a lot of university voters there. After tuition fees, he's not going to be quite as popular as he was before, and there is the possibility he could lose his seat. There's the distinct possibility that Danny Alexander could lose his seat, and also Simon Hughes is in danger of losing in Bermondsey. Other prominent Liberal Democrats could lose their seats as well, so approximately half of Lib Dem MPs are going to lose their seats. But the overall picture is that the next 5 years will be a little bit better than the last 5 years for whoever is in government. It's generally seen that Labour will have the largest number of seats, although whether they will quite make it to have a majority and quite how large that majority will be is debatable. I think that if it's a good election, they could have a similar performance as 1966, when Harold Wilson had an overall majority of something like between 90 and 100, I can't remember exactly what it was, but roughly 350 seats. If it were a moderately good performance, they could just get 340 seats overall, maybe 330, a small majority, but it's going to be difficult the last 5 years, and I think there you might see some problems. Or if it was their nightmare scenario, would probably be Labour being the largest party and the Liberal Democrats being the third largest party, again with the balance of power in a hung parliament, but where the Conservatives and Liberal Democrats won't be able to form a coalition. A lot of Liberal Democrats have been used to cooperating with Conservatives, and it's going to be quite difficult to adjust to being in coalition with Labour, and I don't think Labour would want that. They might even go for a minority government. But those are the key things.